write down 2 questions. Number 1, what am I worried about? And when I try to answer that I'm feeling blue, I'm just not feeling like anything. But when I have to push myself to give words, to give labels to that feeling, what am I worried about? What exactly am I worried about? Be it anxiety, be it sadness, be it, just exhaustion, whatever it is. When you put words to it, something happens. The feeling maybe loses power. Stress, oftentimes we talk about workplace stresses, and today, since the topic is about work-life balance, stress is good to a certain extent. Stress is good because it gives us motivation, it puts us in a healthy competition, it tells us, finish this thing, and there is a certain achievement at the end of it. So yes, to some extent there is an upward curve. Beyond that, it can be detrimental. Beyond that, it can burn us out. I have personally, been burnt out. I have been exhausted. I have had a total swerve in my career. I have been 12 years into a full-blown actuarial job, coming back. So I have seen that firsthand. I mean, that is all I can tell you. I mean, my personal story, you can read it up if you are curious. It's it's I have been featured at a few coveted places for the kind of curve that my career took because of that. And I have been successfully, I feel very proud to say that many of us, we don't know what we are capable of until we are pushed against the wall. So I did have a plan B reservoir inside us, I had no clue about, which only could be drawn out of when I had lost my straight road. And I'm sure that there are many people out there who have reinvented themselves in their careers. And so, but that apart, what can stress do? World Health Organization, more recently, they updated their ICD handbook to now list workplace burnout as a clinical condition. I mean, for a long time we would just say that, oh my God, no, that's nothing, it happens to everyone. But now we know that this is a clinical condition. This is so severe that we hear all these news all around us. I mean, I'm sure the last 2 days have been terrible for many of us. The what happened, and what it was a time for reflection, a time for deep introspection. So workplace stress, workplace bullying, workplace prejudice, being let down, being let alone, being that lacking sense of belonging, all of those are realities, and no surprises there. Even though each of us have different struggles, different challenges. Men are often said that boys don't cry, and there's a huge suppression of emotion. I feel that women also are hugely disadvantaged in this scenario, and especially for women, I don't want to sound like it's a competition of suffering, but for many of us who struggle to raise careers and children together, it has been a very rough journey, right? At workplaces, you have to pretend like you don't have a child, and when you are back home, you have to pretend that you don't have a job. So there's a huge lot of pretense and priorities. What is your real priority? That gets kind of clobbered in the process, and it's very difficult. You cannot do justice to all the parts of yourself and to yourself, as an individual. So what can we do? Really, some practical tips maybe. When I was really down, then I, obviously perhaps like many of you, I did go to several, places. I spoke to therapists, I read up a lot, I watched a lot, whatever you do, try to climb out of that abyss. So now when I look back at my journey and everything that I read and learned, I think that I can safely divide the learnings into 3 stages. The first is the SOS, the first aid, what you can immediately do on the days that you just cannot get yourself out of that darn bed. What do you do? So that is what I call first aid, or SOS. What comes handy to me, what I found useful is, one, to just move your body, just a little bit. If you are lying down, just pull yourself and bring yourself to a sitting posture. If you are sitting down, just stand up. If you can, if you can do it, get up and fold something, fold the bed sheet, fold a towel. If you don't have anything handy in front of you, just go to the wardrobe, pull out something, unfold it and fold it. Just move. Move your hands a little bit, move your body a little bit. I think, that at time of, very, very, very acute glue, it comes handy. Just move yourself a little bit. If you can do that, take yourself to a shower if you are home. If you cannot afford to do that, if you are at your, work desk and you are not really feeling up to it, at least, drink a little few gulps of water. The water does somehow, I don't know what, water is quite magical. So yeah, and hold a pen between, like just like this, take a pen and just hold it in your jaws. What is very funny and very interesting is that, oftentimes it's not easy to, it's not easy to remember this, but the mind and body are related in very, very, very intrinsic ways. I mean, we are not taught this in school. I so wish that our future education system should try to talk about this more, the body wisdom. The way, our mind affects our body, and if we are lazy, we lie down. The same way, when when you force yourself a smiling position, maybe, something works inside. So, yes, do that. One thing that I also do is I try to stay close to a pen and paper, or rather I keep a pen and a paper close to me. One set of pen and paper next to my bed, one set of pen and paper next in my study, next to my laptop. So I do that because one thing I have seen work magic for me is to start saying that, write down 2 questions. Number 1, what am I worried about? And when I try to answer that I'm feeling blue, I'm just not feeling like anything. But when I have to push myself to give words, to give labels to that feeling, what am I worried about? What exactly am I worried about? Be it anxiety, be it sadness, be it, just exhaustion, whatever it is. When you put words to it, something happens. The feeling maybe loses power. So your first question would be, what am I worried about? And your second question should be, what can I do about it? So if it is like, I am angry at something, what can I do about it? Avoid that person, not talk to that person, ignore, forgive, throw something, hopefully, unbreakable on the floor, do something. But what am I worried about? What can I do about it? Writing those 2 answers down does help to separate the subjective feeling from the objective, analytic perspective, and it does help a lot. It has helped a lot. And again, the final question, if you can, remember it at the time when you are really down, the final question would be, will it matter in 5 years? So at times, one bad email, one bad whatever, one person snubbing you, one person saying something or not saying something, we lose perspective, we become suddenly very myopic, and if only we can remind ourselves to ask, will it matter in 5 years? Poof, it goes away. So try that out, and I hope that would be handy for you. The medium term, which I call, is more of, practices that we can develop, and this is best done with, at least for me, the way I do it is, some of these are personal, but some of these are, if you can partner, if you have a little child at home and that child, at times listens to you, like my child at times does occasionally. So it's a nice way of, imbibing your work and life, parenting, etc. So one thing we often do is 3 good things. So every night before we fall asleep, we count 3 good things. So much so that in front of my, in my bedroom, in front of the bed on the wall, we co-sleep. Not the best thing to do, we do incidentally. So on the wall, it's written 3 good things so that we don't forget. So yeah, we quickly count 3 good things, and then very often it gets into a competition that she cannot copy mine, I cannot copy hers, and the rule is that if you want to add something more over and above your 3, then it has to be 6. It has to be a multiple of 3. So if I have 4 things to say, then I would have to find something to make it 6. And that kind of pushes us to find more and more reasons to be grateful for. We very often forget, but at times we remember to also thank everything before we take our food. So we start with thanking the farmers who grew the food, to the fisherman who fished, to the cook who cooked, and to the household help who washed the dishes, to the carpenter who built the dining table. And that also becomes a little bit of a competition and fun, that everything, what is everything, once you start counting, you just cannot stop. And frankly, it's a moment of contemplation and reflection as to really, there's so many people who are doing stuff so that I can, even at this moment, sit here and talk to you over the internet, right? I mean, it's quite I would say, yeah, a reality check in a very good way. So in terms of work life, specifically to talk about work, one thing that is often advised, I am personally not very good at it, but I would pass on the advice as collected, is that especially because I'm an author and I write books, so very often my view is like, my vision and my view is like the entire book. So this will what it will talk about, this is what it is going to be about, and it's so overwhelming and it's so long that you lose motivation. So very often people who are experts in productivity and project management, they say that break your project up into manageable pieces and then break them further up into tasks, so that you can finish one bit of it and give yourself a pat in the back that yes, you have done it. So that very act of your to-do list or task list and checking that off, that gives you a sense of accomplishment, and it's very useful to have that as a daily dose, rather than thinking in 6 months I will finish 3 chapters. Tried that, been in a limbo for forever. I think it is a good idea to try to force yourself to project manage before you execute the project. The same thing goes in terms of the reward and recognition. So you tell yourself that once I have finished that one chapter, I'll give myself a treat, I'll indulge myself. You can also try some things that I used to do when I was doing much worse. Now thankfully, touch wood, I feel I'm more emotionally more resilient and more ready. But there was a time when I did take very, very it may seem a little too practical, but it did help me to change the lights of my room into tube lights, so that the room is brighter, because I had these fancy lampshades and the room always looked very dark towards the evening, and it somehow pulled me down somehow psychologically. Also, I did indulge myself. I spent a little money in buying myself fancy candles and essential oils and those fragrant wax candles in glass jars and all. So small things, a nice notepad, a nice pen. As they say, it's very difficult, but many of us who remember falling in love, yawns back when there were dinosaurs walking around us. So yeah, when you fall in love, the way you feel like doing something for your beloved, maybe around middle age, a time should come when we treat ourselves the same way, fall in love with us or pamper us. So yeah, I think that is more medium term. If we can take some conscious steps in trying to do things that will make our every day a little more pleasurable. We have to do what we got to do, right? We'll come to that, what we got to do and what can be outsourced, which we will come in the long-term measures of handling emotional wellness. But in the medium term, at least, we can help ourselves be pampered and indulged, and help ourselves with a little bit of reminder of things that we are grateful for. We have blessings to count only if we would look in the right way. So yeah,